We are headed into the third week of December. I hope you are having a wonderful Christmas season, enjoying a lot of time with your family and loved ones. There is a lot going on in Utah right now, and we wanted to give you an update and let you know some of the things that we are aware of that are important for you to know about. So you can listen to this as you wrap presents and do other things to get ready for Christmas. There is an important documentary that is being produced here in Utah. It will be published right before Christmas. It's being done by GB News out of Great Britain. They have been in Utah for several days meeting with people. I know they've talked with Representative Trevor Lee and others. I spoke with them this morning. We talked about the importance of the legacy that Charlie Kirk has left and the impact that he has had on our people here. And I talked to him about why I was there in person, why I brought my children there to go be able to see Charlie Kirk and the great hero that he is to many of us. We also talked about freedom of speech, and we talked about the Dignity Index and other things that are happening even here in Utah that where we are labeling speech and doing other things to suppress speech and the concern that that is. Charlie Kirk listened to everybody and he engaged in speech, and we need to continue to do that and push back against any attempts to label our speech. Look into Dignity Index if you haven't seen it already. It's being pushed from our state PTA, the State Bar Association, from the universities, and their target audience is our schools.
We have Dignity Schools, we have Dignity, at least one Dignity District, another one on the way, several in the wings. I think public education is really the top area of focus we have right now, just based on the incoming.
So not okay. We should be able to have freedom of speech. All speech matters and is important, and we need to be able to teach our children that. So they asked me about freedom of speech. There are a couple issues, a couple things that are happening in Utah right now, which is showing how this idea, this dignity index or disagree better, is being applied and how it's actually harming people's lives. So I want to, in this update, I want to tell you about both of those examples of freedom of speech violations. And then there's a few other current events that I want to brief you about in this video. So the first one is freedom of speech under attack? Yes, it is under attack. So the most recent concern that I have is that I know that there are two women in Salt Lake County who are active members of the Republican Party. They have been very strong, and they're the type of people that are out there knocking on doors and helping grow the party. I'm grateful for all of their efforts. They were concerned about an issue that was happening within the party at the county level, raised that concern. It had to do with nominating or endorsing candidates. They raised that concern to the party chair in Salt Lake County. And instead of receiving, a dialogue or addressing these issues, they have now been put on, they are having an emergency hearing regarding these two women about whether or not they should be removed from the party. So I do not agree with this effort at all. If there are concerns with party leadership, they should be addressed. And we need to be fostering an environment where you can push back against your leaders. That is an American thing to do. We have to be able to ask questions and push back and not have a fear that we may lose our position in the party or our membership in the party. So there is emergency hearing scheduled for Tuesday of this week to look at the membership records of these two women. They signed a letter stating some of the concerns that they had with the party leadership. And there are a number of other people who signed that letter as well. So I'm worried that this hearing, that once these two women are targeted and after the results of this meeting, it may go further and there'll be even other people who will be seeing the censorship. So I think it's important that we are able to engage in speech and that we can push back. And if we have concerns, we should be able to raise those concerns. And that is absolutely important to do within our party and within our government. So that is my first big concern with freedom of speech. The second one is involving Turning Point USA chapter president. His name is Craig Jones. He is a chapter president in the Asia area of the University of Utah has an extension office in South Korea. A couple of weeks ago on X, Libs of TikTok highlighted Craig Jones' experience. He had seen a number of racist quotes from one of the professors on campus, and he took that information and he presented it back to this professor, putting the tweets into a flyer and brought it back to a classroom setting to be able to give to the students there and the teacher. And he also reported it to the university about these racist tweets, and they didn't seem to be very concerned about it. But instead of looking at the professor who was saying these comments, they actually turned the attention right back to Craig Jones, and they had a hearing for him and decided that he would be suspended from the University of Utah because of him highlighting these tweets about this professor. So they didn't like the way that he did it, and so they decided that he would be suspended for 2 full years. So the update to this, because this was all highlighted by Libs of TikTok, the update is this last Thursday on December 11th, they had an appeal hearing for him, and they are currently considering his case right now and what to do with it, if they'll let him back in the university. I listened to the hearing. I'll have a little clip of it so you can hear it. It was very distracting because one of one of the women representing the university decided to use a non-binary, genderless pronouns for Craig, which he never asked to have that be done. So it was distracting to hear him refer to as a they, them. I'll let you listen to that.
On November 13th, Craig had their initial accountability meeting with Assistant Dean Martinez and I, where they stated in their meeting that they were participating in what the event was about, but did not confirm whether or not they stayed for the whole event or did in fact leave early as the report stated.
So this should not be normalized on our campuses to use these crazy pronouns with our kids. But so thank you to Craig for standing up and highlighting these problems and this racism. You know what? Free speech needs to go both ways on our college campuses. If we are going to tolerate these racist tweets from a professor, the university should definitely be tolerating a student's right to call out these tweets. So that is a problem. So I hope as the University of Utah looks closer at his case, they recognize that there needs to be freedom of speech, both directions on the campuses. The students need to be able to engage in conversations and to call things out both ways. So right now he is facing a 2-year suspension. He's told that he can't go to any of the museums or anything on the campus for 2 full years, and then he has to reapply to get back in the school. So that is a huge problem. So the hearing was held this last Thursday, December 11th, and he is supposed to be hearing back results from that by this coming Thursday. And one more thing, another update that happened to Craig's case is that the professor, her name is Ashton Avila, she not only filed a police report against him for showing up at one of the events that she was it was a class that they were teaching, a night class, and he came, she actually welcomed him in the class according to her description of the events, but then later said that she felt threatened and because of some of their online interactions. So she filed a police report against him. And then now she has also filed a case of defamation against Craig Jones in the South Korean courts. So this is the first time in my understanding that in history that there has been an American professor who has sued an American student from her own American university in the South Korean court system for a freedom of speech issue, where he's not guaranteed the same levels of freedom of speech on South Korea as he is in the United States. But I hope that the University of Utah looks at this case closely and recognizes our freedom of speech rights that we have in the United States and allows the student to be able to continue to attend campus and to participate that way. Okay, those are my 2 updates about freedom of speech issues. Now, a few other current events that I think you would find interesting. The first is that Phil Lyman is in Washington, D.C. You may have seen some of his updates on social media. He is back there to continue the quest of exposing corruption.
If we don't stand up to the corruption now, it will overtake all of us, and it becomes harder and harder to stand up to it later. So that's what we have to do when we see problems, not in an angry way, not with vitriol, but with honesty, with truth, and to say it plainly and clearly so that people understand. This is our country, these are our families, and we are forced to have some kind of a dignity index, or to disagree better about things that belong to us, that we should be protecting. Anyway, it's a gorgeous night in Washington, D.C., here in front of the Capitol, and still have a lot to do before we call it a day. Thanks.
So as you may know, Phil has partnered with the Public Interest Legal Foundation, and they are suing our Lieutenant Governor for withholding information about our voter rolls. Over 40% of our voter rolls are hidden, and in some cases it's up to 60% of the voter rolls are hidden. And we know that there are huge amounts of problems within those voter rolls. So Phil and partnering with the Public Interest Legal Foundation is suing our Lieutenant Governor for her to comply with federal law and to open up these voter rolls. And there's also a big effort from the Department of Justice to get these voter rolls be cleaned up. So Harmeet Dillon is doing a great job in the Department of Justice, and she released on Friday, December 12th, that the Department of Justice has now sued 4 additional states for them to clean up their voter rolls. So the number has now grown to 18 states that they have sued. Not yet Utah. So we're hoping that Utah is on that list, and it really should be. And that's one reason why Phil is back in Washington, D.C. right now. We appreciate that Harmeet has contacted our Lieutenant Governor and asked her to comply with federal law and to release the voter rolls. Harmeet has contacted all 50 states. Some states complied. There's been a lot of pushback from other states, mostly from the blue states, but a few red states, including Utah, have also pushed back on that. So we're asking our Lieutenant Governor to please comply with our federal law and with the DOJ's request, and to be transparent with our voter rolls. This is a big problem. The next issue I want to mention is that we are current event. Steve Aist is a local Utahn who has seen some of the problems with these voter rolls, and he's actually been heading up an effort to do canvassing, where we're knocking on doors of people throughout the state whose it appears that they have been voting, that there's someone at this address who has been voting in elections, but it also appears that they have no longer live at this address, or that they are a deceased individual. So there is a canvassing effort, knocking on doors and talking to the residents there to help clean up our voter rolls, because we've got to take this under, the citizens in Utah have to take this in our own hands, if we're not going to have a Lieutenant Governor who's going to clean this up and expose this. So let me show you a video that Steve has done as he's talked to some of the people.
Here in Utah, we have dead people voting. We have people that long ago moved out of state still voting. We've got people listed at certain addresses voting from that address that do not live there voting. Is that okay with you? Is there a Lindy Wright that lives here?
I don't know.
You don't know her, a Lindy Wright at all? It's showing she's voting from here. And
But I have it's 3 years ago.
you've lived here 3 years?
Yeah.
Do you remember the date you moved in? Let's see. And this is 3/16. So it would have been 22 that you moved in?
Yeah. In August 22.
August of 22,
22.
you moved into this
Yeah.
house.
So please follow Steve on Instagram. You can see some of the videos that he's putting there, and you can reach out to him through direct messaging that you can help with some of this canvassing projects. So thank you, Steve, and others for your efforts. We need to be able to expose these issues so we can address them and fix them and clean them up and have clean voter rolls so we can trust our elections. Very important. Okay, another current event that happened this week, in case you missed it. Not many people missed it. This became national news. On Wednesday, December 10th, our governor, Spencer Cox, went to Washington, D.C. He was actually at the National Cathedral, and he met with the Democratic governor, Josh Shapiro, as they were being interviewed. And Cox was not back there exposing corruption like Phil Lyman was doing, but he shocked the nation when he publicly endorsed Josh Shapiro for president of the United States. So Josh is one of the leading Democrat candidates, potential candidates for president, and Spencer Cox said that he would be happy, that he thinks that he would make a great president. So, this is not a small matter. Our Governor Shapiro, he is a front runner for the election for the Democrat nomination, and to have Utah's Republican governor go back to Washington D.C. and to publicly endorse him is not something that should be taken lightly. We will soon see how much damage that this endorsement has caused as we move into the 2028 election, and people will look back at this, this Republican governor and how he spoke about this Democrat candidate. Our Utah GOP leadership needs to take this seriously. We cannot have our Utah Republican governor go back to Washington, D.C. and publicly endorse the front runner for the Democratic ticket for the presidential race. This cannot happen. We need to have our governor in Utah needs to act like a Republican, or he needs to be censured by the party. He needs to follow the party platform, and he needs to be acting with more integrity and ethics. So there needs to be some accountability for this rogue behavior by our governor, and actions that he takes that is not representative of our party. Okay, our next item of breaking news involves Michael Clara. So if you have not been watching Michael Clara's videos on YouTube, you need to catch up. He's got 16 of them. They are fantastic. They talk about election integrity issues in Utah and expose the problems with the nominating petitions of Spencer Cox and this giant cover-up that we saw in the 2024 election. Super important that everybody is educated on some of these issues. So the latest with Michael is on Friday. So Michael, if you've been following this case, he was given the business card of an investigator for the Attorney General's office who said that there was an investigation going on into Spencer Cox's nominating packets. This is back in July of 2024. It was timely. We found out about it at a proper time, and he asked questions from the Attorney General's office to find out more about this investigation. We were in court at the time challenging the denial of letting us view the Spencer Cox's packets and the election and all these big issues, and needed to have more information about this investigation. Well, the Attorney General's office denied that an investigation was occurring, and not once, but twice. So both Lonnie Pearson denied it, and then Daniel Burton denied it after Michael Clara appealed it. Michael Clara appealed the denial. Then he took it to the State Records Committee. They refused to even schedule a hearing about whether or not there was an investigation. So Michael went to the 3rd District Court, and they threw out his case in a summary judgment after the Attorney General's office again said there was no investigation. Well, fast forward September of this year, a whistleblower gave Michael the exact document that he had been asking for through the court system. And it confirmed that there was a criminal investigation that was going on into Spencer Cox's nominating petitions that was hid from the public and from us and from Michael through the Grauman request and that entire time. So the investigation happened. It actually started in April 2024, so before the primary, and it didn't conclude until March of 2025. So catching you up on all that. So the latest development on this is that Michael filed what was called a Rule 60B motion with the court, which says there was a document that was hidden from me that I could not have gotten on my own, and I wasn't able to get in any other way, and it was hidden from me. So he filed a 65-page document. It was Gab Maragani is his attorney who's representing on him, did a great job on this document, and the response was due and received this Friday. So that's the breaking news. So going through this document, it's really interesting to watch the Attorney General grapple with this information of trying to explain why they denied that there was an investigation going on when clearly there was an investigation, because now we have the document for it. And they just, spit out a lot of kind of word salad and actually doubled down again, saying that there was no investigation, although we have the documents. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that with the court. The reason why Michael is brought this case up again is because he's asking to have it reopened so he can do further discovery into this investigation, which is important because we need transparency and we need honesty from every branch of government, including the Attorney General's office. So I'm happy to see that Michael is fighting this issue and is in court about it. And this is on the desk for the judge to look at and to look at this closely. But we believe in justice and we believe in transparency, and we hope that the judge rules accordingly. Okay, moving on to more breaking news this week. The Salt Lake County Council voted to increase taxes by 14% in Salt Lake County. It's a huge raise. There was a lot of public outcry. There were a lot of public comments against this and concern about it. But despite all of this effort from the public, the council voted anyway to increase the taxes by 14%. It's a huge increase. So thank you to Carlos Moreno, who was the only one who voted against this raise. So he was strong on that issue, and despite Amy Winder Newton calling him a show horse from that, he was strong, and we appreciate him doing that.
That's why we need more solution. We need a better solution, and we need to be more organized to make those decisions.
County needs workhorses, not show horses, and you 7 are those, and I appreciate working with you. Thank you.
This is a big concern for a lot of people in Salt Lake County. So Phil Lyman has talked with a number of people and has reached out to the GOP chair, Mike Carey, and has encouraged him to do a referendum to get rid of that tax increase. So Phil talked with Mike and proposed an idea with this referendum and said that our team would be willing to help in lots of different ways. We can help with a kind of a Doge look and finding where the excess money where the money is being spent that shouldn't be spent, and ways to save money for the county. And additionally, we would help with the referendum in helping getting volunteers there and supporting this effort to overturn this giant property tax raise. So we saw that happen in Salt Lake County, also happen up in Davis County. Thank you for John Crofts, who voted against that. So, people are watching and appreciate when we've got some people voting on behalf of the people. So we will see what happens with that if Chair Mike Carey decides that he would like the party to engage in supporting a referendum. We will be happy to help with that effort. Anyone who wanted to take around packets to do this could also help with the initiative to repeal Proposition 4. So that could work both ways. At the same time, that's the proposition that's being done by several members of the GOP to fight against this redistricting and to make them more accountable with our map. Okay, 2 more breaking news from this week. We are this one moving down to Utah County. There is for the first time we have a county administrator whose job is to help implement what's happening in the county. His name is Ezra Nair, who's the county administrator. Well, there was a vacancy in Vineyard City Council. Sarah Cameron stepped down, and the city council appointed a new city councilman for Vineyard City. Well, they actually appointed the same Ezra Nair to serve as city council in Vineyard. So we consider this as a conflict of interest, where you have the county administrator is also a city council member. This county administrator and the city council, they work closely together. And so for that person to be acting in both capacities, we feel is a conflict of interest. So there is if you share that concern and want to speak up about it, there is a county commission meeting this coming Wednesday, December 17th at 2 p.m. And you can go and speak up at that meeting and raise your concerns to the county commissioners there that this person should not be able to serve in both of these capacities at the same time because of that conflict. Okay, moving on to our last breaking news of the week. There was a lot going on. This involves our state auditor's office. So our president of the Senate, Stuart Adams, has told Tina Cannon, who is our state auditor, that he wants to take her office out of the Capitol. Well, Tina believes it is very important for her office to stay in the Capitol. She provides oversight to the executive branch, and it's important for her office to be close there and to be able to see what's going on in the Capitol. He wants, what I've heard is that there's an effort to put some junior senators in her office space, and then to move the state auditor's office to the basement, to the same room where the school kids, when they come for field trips, where they put their lunches in the little closet in the basement, put the state auditor down there. So I don't think that's okay at all. We definitely need to have space for our state auditor in a prominent place where she can keep her eye on what's going on in the Capitol. So the breaking news part of that is that this effort has been renewed to try to remove her out of the office, and they are having a hearing for her on Monday morning, December 15th at 9 a.m. To discuss this, where her office will be located. So we encourage people to raise your voices on this and to support having the state auditor keeping her office in the Capitol building, where it can be where it has an important role. We really appreciate what Tina's been doing. I don't know if people all seen this, but she's created a transparency portal that you can access both at home and in her office. And there's actually a space set apart for people from the public to come into the office and to use computers to look up information to gain transparency. And we know that is severely lacking in the current administration. So we appreciate any efforts on shining the light on things. So we support Tina in having her office stay where it is, and encourage people to raise your voices on that issue too, and to help encourage Stuart Adams and others who are trying to move her out to keep her exactly where she is. So, okay, so thank you. That is the update. Lots going on. A lot happened last week. A lot is coming up this coming week. And most importantly, we have Christmas right around the corner. So we wish you all a wonderful Christmas. Enjoy your time with your family and your loved ones. And we are grateful for this wonderful country that we live in. And we are going to continue to fight to preserve these liberties that we have for our next generation, because it is so important for us to do this. And thank you, all of you, for your efforts on this cause.